Good afternoon. So the management of the access privilege to national health insurance system. Thank you all for coming to this session. Seems that there is quite a technical issue. So my name is Guillaume Gerger. I am in charge of the public sector for Wallix. I am with Didier Rollet, which is in charge of the data center of Toulouse for the health insurance. Thank you, Didier, for this retext about Wallix within the health insurance, and this for 10 years now. So what are we going to see during this retext? First, a presentation of Wallix for health insurance. Then we will see the origins of the development of Wallix within the health insurance, with the principles of management that we applied for the management of privileged access, the lessons from this deployment, and future perspective. So, quickly, before coming within the case use, so Wallix, which is related to Linux. We are a French company of cybersecurity, globally present, recognized by the analysts like Cumming Corpo as a leader. And we are present within this for the security of identity and access. We are a French company. We are certified of the ANSI, which is very appreciated today by a lot of structures. We have pretty much 2,300 clients, and we are present in 90 countries. For the health insurance, we are a branch of the national branch of the national health system in France for the pension, which is in charge of paying the pension to the insurers, also for providing benefits for accommodation to families, also for the URSAF, which is in charge of the cotization, and the health insurance, including the diseases and all the costs related to diseases, and for work accidents. For the ecosystem of the health insurance, it is more than 50 private organisms, within which we can find the leader, which is the CNAM. It supports the different organisms in their missions. We have more than 100 of health systems with their relationship with their injuries. Also in charge of the pension, risk at work. And we have a lot of personal data and also medical data. So these medical data are only accessed by the practitioners. Can be doctors, pharmacists, etc. They're all collected on a regional center of the medical center. So the health insurance is within the territory of France, on the continent, but also in the territories in the oceans. Within this ecosystem, we have 9 IT centers of management and 3 for editing, which are in charge of impressing for the whole national territory. Huge figures. 91,000 staff. More than 68 million injuries. 1.2 million experts in medical experts. A lot of services that are paid. For all of this, we have an IT services with 1,700 staff, with 3 million of budget for IT every year, more than 16,000 infrastructures and entities in Toulouse, Strasbourg, Évreux, and Dijon. The origins of the project. In 2012, a bit earlier, we decided to centralize all the facilities, the heavy facilities of IT within a data center. Before, we had more than 10 different regional data centers, so we had to centralize all. We can manage the direct access of agents to the machines with a few hundreds of machines, and when we are talking about thousands of machines on generic account and nominative account, it is very complicated to manage. Therefore, we ask ourselves a few questions. Are we able to say who is connected to the infrastructures? No, we couldn't. In the best cases, we had a message on an account of a nominative account where we can make the link, but for generic account, the only thing we have is an IP address. Can we know what is doing the person on our machine? Impossible to know by the time. So we have an information system which is very heteroclite. So it was very complicated to have a traceability of what was done on our machines. Worse, it was impossible for us to cut the access of a person using a machine. We had to review the whole machines of the whole accounts. It was impossible to do. Even worse, we couldn't know the access of one person on the system to know what are their ability. It was really complicated. So we had an overview of the market in 2012, and we contacted the actors. It was especially agents on the machines by the time. And we had two solutions that were identified, Maladie and Wallix, with a proxy, so without agent within the machine. And we chose Wallix because it was easier for administration. So we started with the POC. So we had two clusters on physical machines with the Wallix cluster, one on Toulouse and one in Strasbourg, with one initial target on the most sensitive machines, so 3,000 machines, pretty much. It was a version 3 of Wallix, with a high definition of solution of Wallix. It was really impressive. It was really complicated. We had a few nights working on this, but for the functionalities, we really liked it because it answered to our demand. So with the editor, we saw what we could do, and we started to work on virtual machines deployed on the ES6. And with the version 4 of Wallix, in 2015, we decided to cover the whole SSH access for all the machines with data about the health insurance. So Toulouse, Strasbourg, and Évreux. We had with pretty much 6,000 machines. The system evolved in 2017 with version 6, 8,000 machines. Now we changed for bigger systems with Linux servers, an increase of our machines. We also decided to cover the active equipment, so we had to integrate the SAN, and we integrated all the equipment we can find within a data center. In 2020, version 8, 10,000 machines. In 2022, we decided to cover also the data center of development or qualification in Dijon with 14 machines covered. 14,000 machines, sorry. And today, 2023, we are more than 18,000 machines, and we want to cover all of our equipment of the network in the national territory. So by the end of the year, we will have close to 30,000 devices protected by Wallix. For the architecture, so today we have 22 clusters of bastions to protect all of this, to give access to all of this. It is a very classical architecture with 2 VM by cluster with different X hosts and BX different. We have dual building servers to be sure that we have more resilience of the solution, and we establish a tiered balancer for spreading of the charge. It's not just it's more a passive active mode, because at the beginning our license was working this way, and we had a duplication only in one sense for the setting. Now we have a duplication between the 2 VM. We have tools provided by the editor today. So the whole of all the logs that are who connected on what all was exported to RTM, and all the user accounts, administrative account, that, as we call it, are different from our bureaucratic. They all are all listed in our directory. We had 2 bastions. And the question to know where is my machine behind which bastion. So to answer this question, we developed a directory. So we had more and more clusters because of the limit in terms of supported devices. So we have a directory of all the machines. This way the user can know where is his machine behind which bastion by just pushing one button to setting the machine. So we have pretty much a classic architecture. So for the infrastructure, as I said, everything based in data center that is accessed. So it can be physical, X45, 85, can be virtual servers, all the equipment of the SAN, switch, BD disks, all the appliances of the safeguard, all the switch can be iOS or Nexus, virtual appliances, and Windows. What about Windows? We are still in the same perimeter today, only with our critical appliances. For the rest, we had FRMDS. This way we can cut the access easily of the agent when they are changing service or when they are leaving our service. But today we do not have any traceability for the majority of our Windows appliance. Population covered. So we cover all the SSH access. So it means that every person access to the A630 go through the bastion. So normally there are no covered connection. Normally there isn't. We'll come back on this a bit later and see why I say normally. So it represents all the collaborators, can be different administrators, work on the application or for support. It's also for the maintenance that have access to the data center. Through the bastion, we create account for them so they can connect and log to the machines. And for the programmers, because the bastion is in progress in terms of development, and so the programmers are also going through the bastion. So today we can say that we have 3,000 people working on this. All these people that have different profile, we give them different privileges. the management. For the target account, equipment. For all the SSH, Unix, like its own access profile with different privileges, though the agent connected himself in nominative on a generic account with different access authorizations. So we have different populations, system administrator with a direct access, and now we have access to without any privilege, but with pseudo access. Middleware administrator, one profile different for the safeguard, one for the exploitation, one for the support operation. And for Windows, we have two profiles, classic, admin, and user, without any privilege. For SIP account, which are generic accounts, are created by your admin, and this admin will populate this bastion with the equipment and the target account. It's the only thing they can do on the bastion. Behind, we have security teams that will position the authorization of access between user groups and target group. These authorization of access are negotiated with the client of the machine. And these accounts of the agent are in our active directory. So we will do a mapping between a group that is declared within the bastion and one within the directory. For the fueling of these groups, it is all the work for the client. The client has to exploit and use his machine, and he is in charge of the access to his machine. So it is fueled by the RSSI of the client. This way we can share a bit the burden for everyone, because it's a lot of work. So the lesson from this deployment about the project. Since we are in version 4 and we abandoned the VIP management within Wallix and the MySQL replication that was used, we are quite happy, won't lie. By the past, we had a lot of issues. For example, we had leaks of memory with a big slowing down on the version 4 and 6. But with good supervision, we managed to work it out and manage it. Another thing is documentation. It is a bit limited sometimes, especially for PRS. We use PRS of the Bastion to create the account and equipment, and also to fuel our session. For this, we will integrate every Bastion with our directory on the PRS to take back the settings of our session. But globally, with the version 8, the product works very well. But about the organization in our house, we had some challenges. First one, people were a bit lost. They were all admin, they were root. So actually when they logged with the system, the first thing they did was to erase every root. So this way they could do everything how they wanted. And when we erased root, it was a bit complicated. So we had to train people. But we also established pseudo rules, but it was not complete. So to block this access, not to block the prod, we had to establish a limit of root. But it's always easier when you connect to root and not user. So we have to train people, raise awareness, explain them how it was. You have to use the user applicative, you have to use the root, please do not forget to tell us every time you are meeting a challenge so we can set everything up, etc. So it took time, it was complicated, and it's still a work in progress because there are still some people that are bringing modifications. It also came from the fact that we went a bit too fast, so we deployed within a prod before qualification. So as the programmer is a root, what does he write within his doc? I am a root, so within a root I can put this type of command, and it is working within the application. And then the programmer says, okay, but I can see that I am being a root, ask a root, but there is a different application, and I am in the sudo, so it was a bit still a work in progress, because we are deploying for qualification. So I hope I will have the help from my colleague from Dijon to deploy this quickly for the programmers. Message conveyed. Another thing, we had direct access to the machines, but we also had to close it because, well, it was one of the biggest projects because we thought we really mastered our network. We thought we mastered our flow, but when we put rules to block it, the pro didn't like it. So we had to manage it. It was a long process, more than a year, to close the access, direct access to the machines. And today we can still see some backdoors because the system is evolving, and within the data center there are some places where we don't want to deploy any bastion because that would cover too much, or because on the production flow that we use SSH, and this way we can enter within a machine, and from this machine to go a bit even further. So we have to close the direct access network. However, we had one success. It was because we had a lot of clusters, so we actually took into account the user experience with our session portal, and our session portal made our tool, our specific tool. This way we do not have direct access to machine, but this tool set the user automatically. It helps us for adoption of the bastion. This way today, when we have the portal session, which is just a directory, nothing more. But when it doesn't work, everyone is saying the bastion is not working. So it was a success. And today people are no longer wondering, okay, we go through the bastion and that's it, you don't think about it, it's a lot easier for the access. For future perspective, so for the short-term deployment of the bastion, for all the active element of the network, for the health insurance system for the whole territory, it's more than 10,000 active equipment. It can be router or switch of different brands. It's administrators also, local admin within the organisms for the administration of this equipment. So we implemented ACL at the network local for remote connection to the network. For midterm, like everywhere, where DevOps is coming. DevOps means the use of secrets, so we have to change deployment of the secret, and the bastion will also be in the same logic with secret safe. On the long run, we have a barotic account for connection to a machine. using a strong authentication with a chip. But for now, it is with the password and logging. So, of course, we have a very restrictive one with a complexity, strong password, etc. But it does not replace the multi-factor authentication. And we also want to switch off the Windows perimeter to be sure that we have trustability of all the machines under Windows within the data center. That's it. I will now let the floor to Guillaume to enter for this presentation before questions. Thank you very much, Didier, for this use case. So for Wallix, we have a complete platform to support you for the security of your access and password. Didier just mentioned different systems like secret safe or strong authentication. These are topics we cover through a complete platform adapted to your IT or OT needs. We have two stands to this year, one IT, one OT. It will be in the Exatrust area. For the platform, Wallix platform, as you can see, we have a different level of security. So possibility to reinforce, to strengthen your security with strong password, rotation or visualization, and with a secret. We can also limit even further the privileges of your users by implementing white lists, black lists, gray lists for your users to limit the admin rights on a local level. Also, the way to connect to the Bastion, you can do it in very different ways. We have HTML5 available with a SAS connection that you can use. It will encapsulate all the RTPS SSH flow. It's a lot simpler than the VPN licenses to connect to your network, and Didier mentioned the user experience. It is quite user-friendly, honestly. So do not hesitate to visit us in our stand if you want to know a bit more about this problematic IT or OT problematic. If you have any questions, we are here to answer. Does anyone has a question? Yes? Unfortunately, the question cannot be translated as we cannot hear it. You didn't mention the management of very high privilege account, especially for the access of domains. So do you have a solution to integrate the control of domains and admin to domain? Didier, about this, do you want to answer? For the health insurance, we applied the Microsoft advice. So we have a forest for the domain administrator. We have different dedicated posts and role for this type of Active Directory account. This is how we work. For root accounts on machines, all go through relationships. Does it answer your question? Any more questions? Good afternoon. Didier mentioned a directory of session where there are a lot of clusters to know who behind which one is the target. Does Wallix want to develop its own directories? I will need the help of a friend to answer you, sorry. Didier, maybe you have some information? So we do not use it, but I think the Access Manager web portal, I think it is what it is doing, and it can help you to work as a directory to help you find the setting on different accounts. Access Manager is indeed a portal that helps you to have a centralized dashboard to manage all the different infrastructures. We developed our internal solutions because in 2015 the access management did not exist in Wallix, so this is why we have our own internal solution, but we have to take care of it. Any more questions? Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. I always talk about the negative aspect, sorry, but it's constructive. Just one remark about the PowerPoint. I don't know if you share it because I'm getting a bit old. So there are things that we cannot see, cannot read. It's not your fault, but just a constructive comment. But I have a lot of questions, so just one to let the other people take the floor. Double authentication. Is it applicable with TOTP, for example? Can we choose whatever we want? So yeah, on this topic we have a very own solution with a Wallix authenticator that help us to identify through this authentication. But if you use another one, we are compatible with any type of solution based on Radius or SAML. Both are possible. Are there any more questions? No more questions? Sure. Do not hesitate. If you have any questions, we have technical experts on our stand. They can answer all of your technical questions. Thank you very much.